Zacks Rank Buys, stocks with a short-term buy or strong buy recommendation. Now, here are more Zacks Rank Buys. Aggressive growth stocks on the docket this time around with Bill Wilton. Bill is our aggressive growth stock analyst for Zacks.com. You've brought a couple of aggressive growers, if there is such a term.
Yes, I have.
Warner Chilcott is the first one, WCRX. Sounds like a radio station, call letters.
That's pretty close.
But they're in the pharmaceutical industry.
Yes, they are. They specialize in women's pharmaceuticals, or women's healthcare products mainly, and they're also doing some dermatology products as well. So everything from acne and psoriasis to birth control and things of that nature.
So they're both in the prescription market and in the over-the-counter pharmaceutical market.
Essentially all prescription.
They are,
what
okay.
They do.
Okay.
Some good news was just announced. They were added to the NASDAQ 100, which is essentially the top 100 non-financial companies in the world. So that's great news for them. Mm-hmm. Once you're put into that level of an index, get a lot of attention from funds, from other money managers. So that should be some good stuff for them coming up. Okay. They've also just announced some quarterly earnings results. November 10th, you can see their earnings per share are up about 8 times year over year. So that's fantastic. They're really turning the corner and are ready to explode. They've raised their full year guidance as well. So it's a very, very positive earnings announcement. Usually when things like that happen, you can see that analysts are upping their revisions also. For both the current year and next year, we're looking at $1.40 for this year and another $1.60 next year.
Yeah, these days finding a company who is raising their guidance
exactly
versus whatever else is going on out there, I mean, most of them are cutting.
Mm-hmm. Usually right now when you see a company that's maintaining earnings, that's a win. To see them actually raising, that's fantastic.
Right.
And then when you look at the chart here, they have been range bound for a couple months now, but they're pressuring that level of resistance. They broke out of it briefly, only to come back in. If they can maintain that level for an extended period of time, you could see this level of resistance become more of a level of support, which would bode well for the stock price, obviously, in the future. Yeah,
and this kind of a market range bound is not necessarily a bad thing, is it?
No. I mean, as long as you've got a floor on your stock price, people are happy with that. It's the downside risk that everyone's focusing on. So if you've got that level of support to lean on, it's a great thing to see.
All right, and Emergency Medical Services Corporation, EMS, that is a popular set of 3 letters. It's seen a lot of places out there, so people should be familiar with it. It's a leading provider of emergency medical services. We're talking about ambulance services?
Yeah, what they do is they directly provide transportation services. They also outsource it. You'll see them a lot at nursing homes and things like that where they don't have their own ambulance, but they'll use a company like EMS to transport patients back and forth to hospitals as needed. They've also had some great quarterly results that just came out, 94% increase year over year. Things are going very well. Again, a lot of people talk about healthcare in this type of economy, and also with the baby boomer generation getting older and older, you're going to see a lot more need for these types of services. So it's a very good industry to be in.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, though, with the rising cost of healthcare, how that tempers the growth in that industry.
Well, the nice part about it is it also, makes a company like this important because they do some of the outsourcing, some of those cost reductions steps that other companies will take. They'll rather use a company like EMS than, say, provide their own ambulance services and things of that nature.
Sure.
So they've actually upped their guidance as well. The high end is now at $2, up from $1.75, which was the former high end of their guidance.
Okay.
And you can see this is a breakdown of individual analysts' estimates. With the exception of one outlier right there in the center, they're all coming in at the high end of the range, which is a very good thing to see, and they're all going up, with the exception of one other analyst who is already at the top end of the company's range. So things are looking very good for them as well.
And they just completed an acquisition, too. How did that change their picture, or did it?
It just adds to their core business, so it allows them to outsource more efficiently, and it just builds up makes them that much stronger in that area. So there's not too many dramatic changes. It's it's one of their core competencies that they're just adding to.
Okay.
And then again,
speaking of pictures,
correct. Again, we've got a stock that's developing a nice range right here, which is nice. You can see that after the nice jump it had following the earnings announcement, it did go back down to test the former levels pre-announcement, but it looks like it held that level very well, which is a positive sign. Again, with any downside support in this market, that's what you're looking for. So if it can trade in this range for a while, things could go very well. And if it even continues to pressure that resistance, we may see a breakout in the near future.
All right. Do you or does anyone in your household own either of these two stocks?
I do not. No.
And Bill writes about aggressive growth stocks routinely on Zacks.com. As a matter of fact, you'll see pieces that he puts up on our website daily. All you need to do is go to our homepage, Zacks.com, look in the upper right-hand corner. There's a whole section there on Zacks Rank Buys, and the aggressive growth category is certainly one of them. Click on the most recent headline next to that category, and then that'll take you to the most recent story that Bill has written and an archive of some of the more recent stocks. I believe there's 5 or so that they keep up there at all times in that category as well. With Bill Wilton, I'm Terry Ruffalo.